Okay, I'm really hoping that works. See the top of that? You can't really, can you? I'll just have to move it down a bit. There we go. Will that do it? Oh, not quite. Move the camera away, maybe? Hey, there we go. Super duper. Right, okay. See, no camera assistant. Can I say he's in the office drinking coffee? So this is component 3, again, Mock 2. And this is question 1, which has a lovely picture on it. And it tells you what it's of. It says gas exchange in the alveoli. And it labels the alveolus for you. Relies on maintaining a concentration gradient between the air in the alveoli and the blood. The diagram below shows the oxygen levels in the alveoli and at 3 points along the pulmonary capillary. So this is the capillary, this double line here. You've got A, B and C. And of course you want to read it from left to right, because why wouldn't you? And it seems that the oxygen level goes down. Remember what the lungs are for. So the lungs are taking in blood from the heart with no oxygen, and it's leaving with oxygen. That's the whole point of the gas exchange thing. So actually, if you were going to write on the blood flow, it would be going that way. And of course it's coming in an artery, which is the pulmonary artery with low oxygen, and it's leaving via the pulmonary vein and going back to the heart with oxygen. That's what's going on there. So we've got an increase in oxygen. And what's happening in between, of course, is the oxygen is diffusing from the alveoli into the capillary. So that kind of sorts that diagram out. And definitely you should do a little bit of annotation. It doesn't have to be, big lots of writing. Just, make sure you know what's going on in a diagram. So, A1. Describe 2 ways that an oxygen concentration gradient is maintained between alveolar air and blood. So what keeps the oxygen diffusing through? So we've got 2 things going on here. We've got the fact that the oxygenated blood is removed by the circulation. So oxygenated blood is removed by circulation. And the other reason is that we've got ventilation brings fresh oxygen I really have forgotten how to write over somewhere. Into the alveoli. Perfect. Explain. So we've got to give a reason. Now the information in the diagram shows that A is the venous end. So we're here. We've said it's going back into the pulmonary vein. How do we know that? The oxygen level's at its highest. So the oxygen level is highest at A. I don't think you really need to say any more than that. That is the evidence. If you wanted to go on, I mean, it's probably worth saying, so is going back to the heart in the pulmonary vein, and therefore it's the venous end. The hemoglobin in blood leaving the lungs is not fully saturated with oxygen, but reaches 98 to 99. 2 reasons for this. Suggest 2 reasons. And again, suggest means there's more than one correct answer, but it's got to make sense. So if we think about it, we've got the blood flowing past, we've said it's flowing past, and the oxygen's diffusing in, but if it hits this end, the end of the alveolus, before it drains off and it's not fully saturated, it's not got as much oxygen as it could have. So there's the idea that there's not enough time. For full saturation before the blood leaves. What else could be going on here? Well, you know, in between here and here, you've got a layer of cells around the alveolus and a layer of cells around the capillary. What do we know about cells? They all respire all the time. That uses oxygen. So whenever I think oxygen, I think respiration, really. So cells in the alveoli and capillary use some respiration. And if you're thinking red blood cells, you could think, well, okay, some of it will still be bound to carbon dioxide. You don't remove every single molecule of carbon dioxide because you know that it's carried that way, or you could be thinking about cooperative binding. I saw some really good answers involving that, saying, you know, that fourth oxygen is really hard to join on, and if it doesn't get joined on, then obviously you've not got full saturation. One function of the lungs is the excretion of carbon dioxide. State two forms in which carbon dioxide is transported to the lungs for excretion. This is straightforward recall. So what you've got is the idea that you've got it dissolved in the plasma as carbonic acid. You've got the hydrogen carbonate ions dissolved in the plasma, and you've got carbaminohemoglobin. Whatever two you felt most confident with, the one to be careful with is carbaminohemoglobin because it has to be spelt correctly, and we had a lot of carboxyhemoglobin and not spelt correctly. So we've got carbaminohemoglobin, and you're just listing here. You've got carbonic acid in the plasma, and you've got hydrogen carbonate. And that's straight from your notes, that's straightforward. Have you learnt that, have you not? Turning over then, we've got a question on plants. So we've got some air spaces and a stoma, dead giveaway that we're looking at a plant. It then goes on to say, in plants, gas exchange takes place directly between the cells and the air spaces. Gas exchange between the air and the air spaces and atmosphere is through the stomata. And here we've got a lily leaf. So, could have been any old leaf really. So this is obviously going to be the lower epidermis. These long thin cells, that's going to be the palisade cells. Upper epidermis. You've got a leaf vein there. And then it's asking you to name the tissue labelled X. So if we've got palisade, this is going to be your spongy mesophyll. And last but by no means least, explain, so this is give reasons again, why the rate of gas exchange is lower in leaves than between the blood and alveoli. So, just like before, we've got mammals have a circulatory system, and ventilation to actively maintain the concentration gradient. So see what I did there? This is directly from this. How are we doing oxygen? Well, you know, the mammals have that, and these plants don't. So I'm still thinking along the same lines. Now I'm going to need to say something else because this is for 3 marks. I want to write really quite a lot. So what's the opposite of that? Differences. Plants are reliant on diffusion alone. And then I still want to write something else just in case I've not hit the 3 things that they want. So I could say something about mammals. You know, plants just kind of sit there, don't they? They don't move around. But mammals have a higher rate of respiration. And what else do I know about mammals? Well, we are warm. And are warm-blooded. And the molecules have more kinetic energy. So there, I'm pretty sure I've written everything I know about plants and mammals, so I'm pretty sure I'm going to get all of those marks.